Morning everyone. Today our topic is primary amenorrhea. So what is the definition of the menstruation? Menstruation is the visible manifestation of cyclic physiological uterine bleeding due to shedding of endometrium following invisible interplay of hormones mainly through hypothalamic pituitary ovarian axis. So it is a visible manifestation of the cyclical physiological uterine bleeding due to hormone which mainly through the hypothalamic pituitary and ovarian axis. So what are the requirements for the menstruation? So there are 5 basic factors involved in the menstruation and continuation of the normal menstruation. So first one is normal female chromosomal pattern. So genetic composition should be 46XX. Then second one, coordinated hypothalamic pituitary ovarian axis. So this axis should be intact. Then third is anatomical presence and patency of the outflow tract, which means uterus and vaginal patency should be present. Then it should be responsive endometrium. And so endometrium is response to the hormones. And 5 is active support of thyroid and adrenal gland. So these are the 5 basic requirements for the menstruation. If anyone has compromised, this menstruation is not occurred and amenorrhea can occur. So this is the hypothalamic pituitary ovarian axis. This is the hypothalamic area. From these, gonadotropin releasing hormone is secreted, and this gonadotropin releasing hormone is stimulate the pituitary gland for the secretion of the luteinizing hormone and follicular stimulating hormone, and with support of adrenal gland and thyroid gland, these hormones act on the ovary and estrogen in every cycle. And then estrogen and progesterone act on the endometrium, and this endometrium is shedding every cycle, and it's in the form of menstruation. So what are the clinical types of amenorrhea? So amenorrhea should be physiological or a pathological. Physiological amenorrhea means it is a physiological, it is not pathological. Physiological amenorrhea, it is a primary, that means before puberty. And secondary physiological amenorrhea occur in pregnancy, during lactation and after menopause. Because in that cases there is no hormone, so no hormone endometrial changes occur in this period, and so there is no menstruation. In pathological, it may be a primary or secondary. So what is primary amenorrhea? Primary amenorrhea means no menses by the age of 14 in absence of growth and development of secondary sexual characteristics. So what do you mean by secondary sexual characteristics? It is the axillary pubic hair development or a breast development. Okay, that is the secondary sexual characteristics development. So in the absence of secondary sexual characteristic, age is 14 and there is no menses. And if no menses by age of 16, regardless of the presence of normal growth and development of the secondary sexual characteristics, means secondary sexual characteristics is present, so we wait for at least 16 years for the menses. So no menses by the age of 16 with secondary sexual characteristics, and no menses by age of 14 in the absence of secondary sexual characteristics. That is primary amenorrhea. And what is secondary amenorrhea? So in women who have menstruated previously and no menses for the interval of time equivalent to total of at least 3 previous cycle or 6 months. So any other one, मतलब 3 previous cycles है उसके और उन्हें नहीं आती है और 6 months after menses, so that is secondary amenorrhea. Today we cover the primary amenorrhea. So what are the classification behind the primary amenorrhea? So classification according to the cause. So first is hypergonadotrophic hypogonadism. That means defect on the ovarian. मतलब this is the hypothalamic pituitary ovarian axis. So this defect in the ovary, that is first classification. So in these cases there is no negative feedback inhibition on the hypothalamus. So follicle stimulating hormone more than 20 international unit and LH is more than 40 international unit, and cause is primary gonadal failure. Second is hypogonadotrophic hypogonadism, means defect on the hypothalamus and pituitary level. In that case, FSH and LH is less than 5 international unit per liter. And eugonadotrophic means all are normal, but there is an anatomical problem, anatomical and ovarian dysfunctional problem, that is eugonadotrophic. So first of all, we start from the higher side, that is functional hypothalamic amenorrhea. So it is a physiological due to weight loss or exercise induced, and in that cases there is a decreased gonadotrophic pulsation and low or normal LH secretion and low estradiol, and FSH usually in normal range, and it is mimic the prepubertal phase. So in that case already cortisol is low because of weight loss and exercise induced. So it is also known as functional hypothalamic amenorrhea. Other is pathological, that is a Kalaman syndrome. It is also at the level of higher level, that is at the level of hypothalamus, and causes X-linked recessive mutation in the KL gene, and cause of adhesion molecule result in lack of migration of GnRH neurons from the olfactory plaque cord, and characteristics are hypogonadotrophic hypogonadism. There is a anosmia and midline facial defect, occasional renal agenesis, and absence of pubertal development and primary amenorrhea. And treatment is hormone replacement therapy to promote sexual maturation, and fertility is possible using IM gonadotropins. So in that case, Kalaman syndrome, there is a defect on the hypothalamus. So associated complaint is anosmia, and patient having no secondary sexual characteristics are present, and patient come with primary amenorrhea, and treatment is hormone replacement therapy. Other one is anorexia nervosa. It is a psychological disorder characteristic by intense fear of gaining weight or being fat despite being underweight, and body image distortion, restrictive eating, excessive exercise, and purging in some, resulting in malnutrition related complication, for example osteoporosis, amenorrhea, and hair loss. So it is a psychological other functional disorder for the amenorrhea. Other one is constitutionally pubertal delay, that is a family history is positive, matlab in family history there is a menstruation is delayed in mother. So it is a commonest cause, and it is a with positive family history, and understature and delayed bone age diagnosis by all other cause should be excluded. Then we diagnose that is a constitutional pubertal delay, and we should follow up, and prognosis is good, and in that case no drug therapy is required. Other one is at the level of hypothalamus, that is a craniopharyngioma. This is another CNS neoplasma. That is a craniopharyngioma is a benign tumor that develops near the pituitary gland, most commonly in the childhood and adolescence, and later in adult life. Compress the pituitary stalk and gland, and the tumor can cause the partial or complete pituitary hormone deficiency. So there is a pituitary hormone deficiency, that is FSH and LH deficiency. There is a no menses occur in that cases because of higher level defect. Now hypergonadotrophic primary amenorrhea. Again I say hypergonadotrophic, that is defect on the ovary. So what can be the defect? That is the abnormal sex chromosome. That is most common syndrome is Turner syndrome, and constitute of genetics are 45X0. And if it is normal 46XX, that is gonadal dysgenesis, because ovary is not working properly, and Swyer syndrome in that case is 46XY. So in these cases the defect at the level of ovary. So hypergonadotrophic hypogonadism, ovarian dysfunction, always pathology. In hypothalamus, we know that is a psychological disorder, pathological disorder, or a constitutional pubertal delay. But in hypergonadotrophic, it is always pathological. And in that case, loss of negative effect of sex steroid hormone feedback on the hypothalamus means there is no estrogen progesterone. That is always lead to the high FSH and high LH. Now see the detail of Turner syndrome. It is a classically 45X0 or mosaic pattern and incidence are 2500 to 10,000 per 2500 or 10,000 live bones. 99% of pregnancies affect ending stillborn. Causes are absence of ovarian determinant genes result in premature loss of germ cells. Fetus with Turners have the same amount of germ cells at mid-gestation as do 46XX. As gestation continues, accelerated loss of germ cells occurs and mainly X0 individuals lost all germ cells prior to birth and less than 15% have enough germ cells to start pubertal process by adolescence. What are the characteristics of the Turner syndrome? In that cases, we see the patient with a cardiac anomaly, that is a coaptation of aorta in 30% of the patients. Also bicuspid aortic valve, mitral valve prolapse, and we should recommend for 2D echo for heart for perform every 3 to 5 years. They may be present with the renal anomaly, that is horseshoe kidney, retroperitoneal kidney. Ultrasound should be required. And hypothyroidism, 10% patient with Turner syndrome. And recommended yearly screening of T4, TSH and antibody. They may be deafness. They may be present with the deafness. So what are the clear-cut Turner syndrome? Turner syndrome lady should be like this. There is a short stature, low hairline, characteristic facial structure, fold of skin, constriction of aorta, shield-shaped thorax, widely shaped nipples, poor breast development, elbow deformity, shortened metacarpal fourth, small fingernails, rudimentary ovaries, gonadal streak, brown spots, that is navy spots all over the body, and there is no menstruation. See that these patients short stature, web neck, shield chest, widening of the nipple, distance between two nipple is wide, cubitus vulgus. Okay, or these are the characteristics of the Turner syndrome. Second one is the gonadal degenesis. That is a 46XX constitute. It is refers to a number of conditions in which the abnormal development leads to a streak gonads. Means that is 46XX, but ovary is not responding to the hormones. That is a dysgenesis. Incidence are less than 1 into 10,000 live born in women less than 30. Inherited female and inheritance is 7 to 30%. Pre-mutation in FMRA1 gene Fragile X syndrome. 15% of carrier having premature ovarian failure associated with autoimmune disease like Hashimoto thyroiditis, Addison's disease and hypoparathyroidism and vitiligo. Acquired are radiation, chemotherapy, environmental and childhood virus. So any infection, any autoimmune disease are associated with the gonadal dysgenesis. How will you diagnose? So diagnose by more than 3 months of amenorrhea plus FSH in the menopausal range. An ultrasound, more than 60% of patients having undetectable ovaries by ultrasound and majority show no follicular growth. DEXA scan in addition to screening for autoimmune diseases. Hormone replacement, it is a treatment. It is a low dose estradiol 1 or 2 milligram per day and step up for 12 to 18 months before addition of progestinic agent. Add progesterone in order for regular menstruation. And fertility, 5 to 10% of spontaneous pregnancy as patient with gonadal dysgenesis with cyclic inconsistently and recommended OC pills in adolescent population to prevent unwanted pregnancy. Now other diseases are Swyer syndrome, that is a 46XY, and cause are associated with the mutation in the SRY gene, strict gonads present, no testis formation. So in that XY is there but there is no testis, and therefore anti-Mullerian hormone and testosterone are not produced. So normal uterus and fallopian tube and female external genitalia are present. Estrogen also not produced from strict gonads, therefore breast development does not occur. In that case is elevated FSH and LH. And strict gonads need removal as they are increased risk of germ cell tumor. Most common is gonadoblastoma. So 25% are risk for cancer, so we remove these strict gonads. Now third one is a eugonadotrophic primary melanoma, means axes are okay but there is a anatomical defect at the level of uterus or ovary. So in that case androgen insensitivity syndrome, that is a testicular feminization. Second one is MRKH, there is a Mayer-Rokitansky-Kuster-Hauser syndrome. Third one is a PCOS and fourth one is a cryptomenoria. Now see in the detail. First one is a Mullerian agenesis, that is a Mayer-Rokitansky-Kuster-Hauser syndrome. In that case there is a complete absence of uterus, cervix and upper two-thirds of the vagina. In that cases, there is a normal XX karyotype, normal ovarian function, otherwise normal pubertal development, but there is no menses because there is no uterus. So causes are mutation in the anti-Mullerian hormone or anti-Mullerian hormone receptor and associated with the WNT gene. Associated condition are 1/3 co-current with the urinary tract anomalies. So these Mullerian duct and Wolfenian duct that form the kidney. So both are in embryologically same. So associated defect are also occur in the urinary tract anomalies. So most common is ectopic kidney, renal agenesis or horseshoe kidney. 12% associated with skeletal anomaly like spinal anomalies, absent digits, webbed fingers and toes. And part of workup needs to include the abdominal CT to evaluate for the renal anomalies. So patient with the MRKH, we should do first of all karyotyping like she is XX or not, then associated condition like ectopic kidney, renal agenesis and associated skeletal deformity, we should search for that. So we go for USG and CT scan for that. Now Mullerian agenesis evaluation by, so this patient having the normal secondary sexual characteristics because ovary are normal, so hormones are normal, estrogen and progesterone, which form the normal breast development, normal secondary characteristics, laboratory normal XX karyotype and normal LH-FSH. Pelvic exam, there is a normal external genitalia, absence of internal midline structure and vaginal dimple. So this is the only vaginal dimple. Cervix and uterus are not seen. Mullerian agenesis, what is the treatment? So treatment is Frank and Ingram dilator, that is a non-invasive treatment. So we should dilate at the 15-degree angle daily after warm bath for 20 minutes and progressively work up to large dilator, and success defined as no painful intercourse or vaginal length of 7 cm. Studies demonstrate up to 88% success rate at 19 months of use. So this is the Ingram dilator that is increased by the size gradually, and gradually we should advise the patient for the dilator, dilate that vagina at least up to non-painful intercourse or vaginal length of 7 cm. And that is a MAC endoneovagina, that is an invasive procedure for the vaginoplasty. It is also a method of vaginoplasty. We should use a skin graft or artificial skin placed over a mold forming a tube with one closed end, an incision made in the vaginal dimple and cavity dissected to the level of peritoneum. And labia majora are sewn together. Bed rest for 7 days and then mold is removed. And these operations should be advisable just before or after marriage. And main complication of the vaginoplasty is restenosis and dyspareunia. So this is the invasive method for the or operative method for the MRKH. Now second one is androgen insensitivity syndrome, also known as testicular feminization syndrome. Here the genetic constitute are 46 and XY. In that cases, there is an asymmetrical secondary sexual development, breast development with scanty or absent pubic hair, because breast development by the estrogen and scanty and pubic hair and axillary mostly dependent on the androgen. So in that cases, there is a no androgen. Androgen is insensitivity to tissue. So pubic hair and axillary hair is scanty, but breast development is okay. And short vagina with no visible cervix. Serum testosterone are normal or above the range observed in the normal males. So treatment is let them female. Let ectopic gonads to removed after secondary sexual characteristics are well developed, because they may turn into malignancy, and substitutional therapy to maintain the secondary sexual characteristics and vaginoplasty should be done. So let them be female because they have a secondary characteristic, sexual characteristics with short vagina. So we should go for the vaginoplasty and gonad should be removed. Third one is a polycystic ovarian syndrome. This is a 5 to 10% of adult women and increasing in prevalence in the adolescent population. Diagnosis, it is a Rotterdam criteria. At least two of following. That is a chronic anovulation, that is a oligomenorrhea or a amenorrhea. Clinical or biochemical evidence of excess androgen. So androgen should be increased. Polycystic ovaries on the ultrasound, that is a more than 12 follicles of 2 to 9 mm size. And it is typically present with the secondary amenorrhea or oligomenorrhea, but may present 3% may present as a primary amenorrhea. Important to diagnose given metabolic abnormality. Recent study of adolescent population showed 62% have already developed insulin resistance. They have a dyslipidemia or obesity. So this is a PCOS, mainly present as a secondary amenorrhea, but 3% may be present as a primary amenorrhea. And in this patient there is a androgen is excess, so they have a more biochemically more androgens levels. They may be present as a chronic anovulation, and USG picture there is a multiple follicle arranged in the periphery in the ovary. That is a necklace pattern. Now, how will you treatment this PCOS? So, PCOS patient, according to the cause, we can treat the PCOS. If a patient having a complaining of irregular menses, we go for the OC-PACE 3 months. Or if patient having a complaining of infertility, we go for the ovulation induction agent for treatment. And for obesity, dietary management and exercise is required. And dyslipidemia, we control the lipids level by giving dyslipidemic drug. And for insulin resistance, we can start the metformin. Now fourth one is a cryptomelaria. All thing is okay. Anatomy, uterus is respond to endometrium is respond. Menses occur, but menses is not go from the vaginal outlet. That is a hymen. So imperforate hymen. Hymen is a imperforated. So in that case, that is a cryptomenoria. It is known as cryptomenoria, and it is present as a causes are imperforate hymen and transverse vaginal septum. Again, this is the anatomical defect. The patient present with a cyclical perineal, pelvic or abdominal pain due to accumulation of the blood, that is cryptomenorrhea. Normal secondary sexual characteristics. Valsalva manure cause distension at the introitus. Genital examination. There is a no vaginal orifice. Thin bulging blue perineal membrane at the inferior limit of the palpable fluctuating mass, that is hematocolpus. Treatment is simple cruciate incision in the hymen and excise its central portion to allow the drainage of sequestrated menstrual fluid and subsequent normal menstruation. Transverse vaginal septum, that is present same as the imperforated hymen, and Valsalva manure will not cause distension. And genital examination, there is a normal vaginal orifice, shortened vagina of varying length and no visible cervix. Palpable hematocolpus above the obstruction and pelvic mass resulting from hematometra and hematosalpinx. Investigation are MRI to define the length of atretic segment. Treatment is excision of the septum or dissection of the atretic segment and primary anastomosis of lower and above vaginal segment. Okay, so imperforated hymen. This is the imperforated hymen. See the bulging. And patient coming with cyclical abdominal pain, bulging over the in the vagina, that is a bluish word. It is a thin bulging blue perineal membrane at the inferior limit of palpable fluctuating mass, that is hematocolpus. And treatment is cruciate incision, IND, cruciate incision and drainage of the all blood. And transverse septum, this is a transverse septum, we remove the septum and drainage of all blood. And anastomosis of the upper and lower segment. So this is the hematometra, collection of the blood in the uterus. And other with dysfunction of the thyroid and adrenal cortex, that is the adrenogenital syndrome. In that case, 46 XS and ambiguity of the sex at birth and 17-hydroxyprogesterone is elevated. We go for detail in later slide. And cretinism is a hypothyroidism. Due to hypothyroidism, there is a amenorrhea. And metabolic disorder like juvenile diabetes, all that case come with primary amenorrhea. Now, congenital adrenal hyperplasia. In that case, enzyme defect leading to excessive androgen production. Milder form of disease diagnosed later in life may present with the primary amenorrhea, but even more classical, it is a hirsutism, virilization and anovulation. So in that cases, patient may have a hirsutism, virilization and anovulation. Most commonly a defect at 21-hydroxylase leading to accumulation of its substrate, that 17-hydroxyprogesterone. And how will you diagnose that? 17-hydroxyprogesterone is more than 100 nanogram per deciliter are indicator of late onset congenital adrenal hyperplasia. So this enzyme is deficient, so adrenal corticotropic hormone is decreased and it lead to the more 17-hydroxyprogesterone which later on form androgens. And this androgen will cause the hirsutism, virilization and ovulation. Now review. How will you review the patient with coming with amenorrhea? So first of all, patient history. Then pubertal development, premenstrual symptoms, dysmenorrhea, cyclic abdominal pain, past menstrual history, past medical history like chronic illness, exposure to radiation, current medication. Social history like exercise, weight loss, illicit drug use, family history, history of pubertal delay or infertility. Review of systems like a patient having anosmia or not, thyroid or breast check for galactorrhea, headaches, visual changes, hirsutism, acne, thyroid disease, vasomotor symptoms, all should be checked. And we should examine the secondary sexual characteristics by Tenor staging, that is for breast and pubic hair. For breast, Tenor stage 1, there is no breast development. Stage 2, first sign of breast development has appeared. The stage is sometimes referred to as a breast budding stage. Stage 3, the breast is more distinct, although there is no separation between contours of two breasts. The breast is further enlarged and there is a greater contour distinction. The nipple, including the areola, forms and the secondary mold on the breast. So, primary mold in stage 3 and secondary mold in stage 4. And stage 5, size may vary in the mature stage. The breast is fully developed. Pubic hair, there is no pubic hair in stage 1. Stage 2, there is a small amount of long pubic hair only on the vaginal lip. Then only on the skin of vulva. Then fourth hair is now an adult type and covered more than vulva. And fifth, there is a hair on the thigh. That is a stage 5. Hair may be present in the inner thigh and it is an inversely triangle appearance of pubic hair. So, how will you examine? That is a first of all physical exam. That is a growth chart, height and weight and BMI. Secondary sexual characteristic by Tanner staging, breast development and pubic hair. Dysmorphic features like babe neck, short stature, widely spaced nipple, therefore Turner. Hirsutism features and acne for congenital for PCOS or congenital adrenal hyperplasia. Thyroid examination, pelvic examination. For rudimentary or absent uterus and transverse vaginal septum, imperforated hymen, virilization and clitoromegaly. So, evaluation of primary amenorrhea. Last this chart is explain about all things. First of all, history and physical examination completed for a patient with a primary amenorrhea. History should be asked and physical examination, all that described should be completed. If patient having the secondary sexual characteristics is present or not, no present, that you should measure the FSH and LH. If FSH and LH is less than 5 international unit per liter, so cause at the level of higher side, that is a hypogonadotrophic hypogonadism. That is a CNS or hypothalamus disorder. If FSH more than 20 and LH more than 40 international unit, then defect at the ovarian level. That is a hypogonadotrophic hypogonadism. So you should go for the karyotype analysis. It is XS or XY. According to that, or X0. According to that, we should go for the gonadal failure or not. Okay. Then, if secondary sexual characteristics are present, then perform the ultrasound for the presence of uterus. Uterus is absent or abnormal, karyotype should be, we should analyze for the karyotype, that is 46XY, then it is an androgen insensitivity syndrome. 46XX, it is MRK, that is a Mullerian agenesis. If uterus present or normal, maybe there is a outflow obstruction, that is a cryptomenorrhea. Yes, that is a imperforated hymen or transverse vaginal septums. If outflow obstruction is not, we should go for the evaluation for the secondary amenorrhea. So these charts all explain about the primary amenorrhea. Thank you very much for this lecture.